The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in horror franchises. And today we are discussing Hellraiser from 2022. Last one, John.
The last one.
And we can discuss our deep feelings on that for the wrap up in a week. However, I wanted to say the last train from the station. I was like, that doesn't really work. This is the last stop on the train, on the midnight meat train. Something to that effect. Yes. Yeah. So, oh man. This one was so interesting for me to watch this time after what we've been through, you know? So it's, like going into this 3 years ago when it first came out, I was very excited just because I'm a fan of Hellraiser. Mm-hmm. Am I a little less of a fan of Hellraiser now? Maybe, maybe not. Again, we'll talk about that next week. However, it's just the big old Hellraiser curve was just really kicking in for me on this, on the good and the bad. And I guess this is more for a wrap up, but it still is conducive to this conversation, which is I don't think there's been a Hellraiser movie since the first Hellraiser. in the sense of like what that movie just established and the intentions and all of that. It got to the point through talking about all of these where I'm just like, well, that's not quite how the first Hellraiser is, and that's just also what this showed me once again.
Yeah, this is definitely a different take on the whole thing, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, like coming from what we've been through. So I'm prepared at this point now for, just give me whatever with what you're going to do with Pinhead. So I think also going into it this time, I was a little bit more on board with it this time than I was the first. The first time I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. This time I'm a little bit more bullish on it. Some of which being that having watched all of them, the way that this weaves elements from other ones into this was pretty cool. As I don't want to say fan at this point, but as someone who has recently seen them all, and they're still pretty fresh in my mind.
Yes.
There were things you could notice like, oh, that's cool that you brought that in from Hellseeker, that you brought that in from Hellworld or whatever. That kind of like what we were talking about with our Final Destination Bloodlines review, chat about that. The way that it kind of took these details or these elements from the other ones or themes and kind of brought them all in without making a big show of it.
Sure.
And letting you know, like, hey, remember that? I thought was pretty cool. So a lot of this for me works. Some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of torn on the whole thing, but I'm a lot more solid on it. But some of that could be from like, oh my God, they had a budget and they spent time on this. Yes. This is an actual movie. Oh my God.
For sure.
Look at what you can do. Or the soft bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah.
When it comes to Cenobites.
I think you were just a big Trevor fan from what, Hellseeker? And so you're excited to have another Trevor.
So when I saw that,
yeah.
And a very similar Trevor-y kind of behavior.
Right. So directed by David Bruckner. I know that you've seen Night House and you were kind of so on that one, I remember. Yeah,
I like The Ritual a lot. I liked it a lot more the second time I saw it. Like first I was like, yeah, it's all right. But then I really liked the second time. Night House, I'm pretty lukewarm on, though. I love Rebecca Hall. And if you need an actress to slowly go insane, call Rebecca Hall. It's funny, though, with the Night House, because there's definitely elements of that in this, in terms of like the shifting architecture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite parts of this, frankly.
Right. Yeah, Ritual is one of my favorite modern horror movies for whatever dumb reason. It just clicks all my boxes that I like and stuff. I love that movie. And Night House had such a good vibe to it, and a very similar vibe here when you didn't have, 20-somethings screaming at each other. But yeah, the vibe and definitely all the practical visual effects, the trickery of walls moving and stuff like that was very, very Hellraiser-y. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of David Bruckner. His next movie, I looked it up, and he's doing a remake of The Blob.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, why do we have to do that? But I like the way he does practical effects, so that's going to be an important thing. So I'm interested, I guess.
That's good. Yeah, that's going to be weird too, because he's not really
a funny guy,
a jovial filmmaker. Yeah.
Maybe he is finally just like, I'm tired of making dour stuff for a little while. Like, I do want to have some fun. So
we'll see. I mean, and like, he's good at making this dour stuff. So
yeah,
I'm interested. I'll totally go see it.
For sure. And then, you know, genre favorite David S. Goyer being involved in this too. And I didn't see any kind of Goyerisms that I don't usually glom to, but I wouldn't have known that he was involved with this if it hadn't been for the credit.
He didn't add the Joker in there somewhere?
Yeah, right. Joker Cenobite. You know that's somewhere online. Yuck. Oh.
If not, there's going to be.
Yeah. But yeah, so this had been like long going back and forth between like, you know, was it going to be Clive Barker coming back to direct? Was it going to be the folks from that French Extremity film Inside there for a while? And good grief, that's a rough watch if you want to watch something like that. But like, I think they landed on a good team. Whether or not everything worked for me or not, like this was definitely a big budget attempt with some solid people behind it, and I think it's a successful movie in that sense. The big, not elephant in the room, but the Cenobite in the room is yet another non-Doug Bradley.
Right.
Jamie Clayton is her name. Did a pretty damn good job of stepping into such huge shoes.
Yeah, I like this version of Pinhead mostly. I could get into I have sort of complaints overall about the Cenobites. I don't know complaints, but notes, whatever, feelings about the Cenobites. Yeah. But I do like Jamie Clayton's performance as Pinhead. Just in this, referred to as the priest.
The priest, yeah.
In this one, it's less of sort of a regalness, a magisterial thing. It's a lot more kind of cold and distant. I think the voice modulation for both her and the gasp, like I enjoy, but I also think is a little overboard and kind of covers up the performance a bit because it's now just the voice, but I still liked it. I still thought it was cool.
Sure. Yeah, the design too is so intricate. And I don't want to say that some of the Cenobites felt over-designed necessarily, but the thought occurred to me a few times when I had to tamp that down a little bit and just try to enjoy it. You know, that's
basically what my beef is with the Cenobites is they're a little bit too alien. They're just a little bit too monstrous where they no longer have the human connection. But I also don't think that matters as much in this one.
I would agree. Yeah.
Look, you're going to bring back Chatter. That's fine. Yeah. It's a great Chatter. Butterball sitting right there. You can't bring Butterball back. Come on. Right. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a little bit too alien. And like, for example, the gasp, like they try to do like, she's the lady Cenobite where she has the neck thing pulled up and the
head thing.
The head thing from like Angelique in part 4, which is cool. It's a great design, but like the coloring is like, she's like pink overall. So it just doesn't really it looks way more alien than human. And then whenever she walks, and I think Selena Lowe does a good job, but like whenever she slowly approaches, it really looks like she's trying to balance a book on her head rather than come at you. So it seems like, oh, this makeup's going to fall apart if I move too much.
Yeah.
So it seems a little kind of, like you said, over-designed. The way that the bodies, they're so flayed and destroyed, but in this very precise way that, again, makes sense for the kind of a little bit more of this version of the Cenobites, but it still kind of took me out of it a bit because it does seem so less like ragged and people just experiencing stuff and then kind of raw. It's more like, no. You're going to want, this thing is best felt at a 45-degree angle for about 3 inches. And if I curve over here, this is going to blow your mind when I do that.
Right.
It's, which there's an argument to be made that, we've been doing this long enough that we know what's cool. But
sure.
I think that distance hurt it a bit. Also, like one of the characters, the Asphyx looks way too Silent Hill for me, and the one face guy just was too much.
Mask.
Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah.
I like him, but it just was like, I don't even know. At that point, I don't even know what's going on in terms of like, yeah, we just took your face off and floated it above your head. That just doesn't even seem like a human thing. But like the Weeper, I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. Again, like way too alien, but awesome looking.
Yeah. And I always want something that is just beyond strangeness, especially with this kind of stuff. But that's the trick with Hellraiser, is because each one of the Cenobites used to be humans. So I do want them to retain that. So I'm very split. And you know, when I have these thoughts about the Cenobites, I still like them very much.
Yes,
like this is me this is me picking something apart that I actually do really quite like, and just saying like, oh yeah, that looks a little bit much, but I'm still enjoying watching it.
I mean, like they explicitly say, you know, like, oh, you know, we can do stuff. The body can do so much and whatever, but it's so much more cold and distant than the Cenobites of the past.
Right.
It works thematically a little bit more for what they're trying to do, but just for my own personal aesthetic, not my favorite thing.
You know, the old Cenobites are like the more like punk rock industrial versions, and these are the like super elegant goth versions that are just like way prettier and like meticulously made, and there's not that grime on them that the first couple had. These are way nicer.
They're up against an issue where, you know, leather clad stuff is sort of played out, or like you don't want people to look at your Cenobites and be like, yeah, I liked The Matrix too. You know, you want to get away from that a little bit. And so I think this was not a bad route to go down.
Yeah.
And again, like for thematically what they've done with their versions of the Cenobites. Yeah, it all worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the old ones better. And if you're presenting me with 6 or 7 of these new Cenobites, it just invites a little bit of criticism, and that's just what we do. That's what fans do. You know,
there's so many of them. In fact, I think like you could just overall in this movie, you could pare down the amount of people that are in this, because a lot of the external the characters that are not Riley or Trevor kind of aren't characters. They're just kind of there for stuff to happen to them. That
point is one of the things that make this in some ways a lesser Hellraiser movie to me, because there's no other point in this movie than to have just Cenobites running after people, like killing people. There's no Frank, there's no Julia. I mean, there's sort of the Voit guy, but we can get into that. And then the other characters exist just to be picked off by said Cenobites. And so that's the part where I was feeling like it's not so much a Hellraiser movie as this is a really beautiful slasher.
Right. It's Hellraiser as slasher. It's it's like part 3.
Part 3.
A little bit more.
And we came for the Cenobites, so they're going to give us the Cenobites.
And frankly, at a certain point, as I mentioned, it is just Hellworld. When they go to the house, it is just Hellworld.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They bring back sort of the desire element for this, but it's really much more addiction, because Riley is in recovery for a bunch of stuff, apparently, pills and drinking and all that. The theme of addiction and the pursuit of that addiction runs through this. And so a lot of it is these people die. And what does that mean to her? Mm-hmm. But instead of us having like an opinion of these people around her, it's more just like, well, does she feel bad about? Okay, well, then I guess that's bad.
Yeah.
You know,
which I guess gets a little bit of a payoff at the end, but not. I feel like it was a little ham-fisted.
Yeah.
That didn't quite work for me. It was almost like they stripped a bunch of stuff out somehow.
Well, and just like the differing ending states for both her and Voit, I have some questions about.
So the movie starts with an opening title card that I feel like was to justify a tax break by letting us know that it's in Serbia, which is where they shot it. And I'm sure that they had to say that was Serbia to get your 20% back.
But I mean, it's also... It makes it seem bigger and cooler, because like, look at us, we're in another country. Mm-hmm. Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. This is how evil this thing is. It's in Europe.
Right.
Booga booga.
Yeah, right. Voit had to send somebody to get it. It was it required effort. So once again, like, I do want the box to require some bit of effort here.
Right. But then I sort of, without jumping the gun too much for this, let's talk about that theme of kind of that feeling of distance, is that like, he's got people to do that for him. He doesn't need to go. He's rich enough, as we will find, that this person is a liaison for someone else. That he won't touch it. They can deal with that.
Yeah, that does bring up a lot of questions. So getting right into that first scene, we're all of a sudden back in Massachusetts. I don't know why they picked that, but fine. And I think it was just to let us know that we're not in Serbia anymore for some reason. I feel like that was just a weird like editing choice, if anything. But yeah, we're at a house party, and there's like a bit of an orgy going on, and there's a young guy who, I mean, it seems like he's supposed to be a sex worker. There to see Voit, and he stumbles into a kind of a trophy room of sorts and picks up a very odd looking puzzle box. This one's elongated. At this point, it doesn't quite look like the Leviathan diamond. It's like inverted, I believe. Yeah, no, it's the it's cylindrical. I forget. Yeah, it's more of the long version. And I like that reveal where you see the box and then the camera kind of pans over to reveal like, no, it's long. Right. It's like, it's not your daddy's lament configuration. It's a long one. Yeah. So yeah, he picks up this box, and he is told by this mysterious man who is named Voit that it is a puzzle box, and he says,
so if I solve it, do I get a prize?
I do.
Which is a little clunky, but I guess it works.
I loved it. Well, I love the guy's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Then I'll just keep doing it. Yeah. Just a wonderful himbo.
He likes a challenge, I guess. Yeah. But he solves it and the knife pops out. So this is in addition to our puzzle box. Every time somebody solves it, they get stabbed. Blood leaks into the puzzle box that then, I suppose, calls the Cenobites. Yes. There is, this once again goes back to what we've talked about over the past several months, which is intent behind the box. Voit is not physically opening the box, but it's his intention. And then Pinhead said in part 3 or something, like it's not the hands that calls us, it's the desire or something like that. In part 2, yeah. 2. Okay, so yeah. So Voit gets this young guy to open it for him. And of course, that just means chains come and grab this poor guy and tear him apart. This whole process begins this new thing where like nobody actually, and I guess this is what I was bumping up against throughout the entire movie, is nobody seems to really want to physically open the box themselves. It's the relationship with the box is a lot different in this one because it's a different shapes, and as we get into it, that it transforms, and it's less about you opening it as much as just somebody opening it. Yeah. Whatever stage it's at, it seems like a knife will pop out. If you do that, and until and the knife doesn't stab you, the Cenobites will just neg you until you cut yourself on it or you find someone else to. Right. Which is a little different. It is kind of neat when he gets stabbed by the chains, because like it's early on we're implying that Voit is kind of like praying to Leviathan. Like Leviathan is something that exists in this one, which we haven't seen since, I believe, part 2. Yeah. And I like that guy. Yeah. Oh, it's nice to see him back. Looks great. Can't even tell he's had work done. Right. Title card, and then we are starting off with a somewhat aggressive sex scene that is kind of funny because the guy just says "I love you" in the middle of it, which kind of to me runs counter to any Clive Barker kinkiness. Right. Not that Clive Barker is incapable of loving somebody, but it's just that already starts off this kind of odd relationship with sex that this movie has. Yeah, the only love in the first couple anyway seems to only exist between Christy and her dad. Right. Yes. Well, I mean, she does have the lovely boyfriend of the first one that they just jettison immediately. Right. But yeah, what I love is, so as the guy, the himbo is dying, it screams, the Hellraiser thing comes up, the logo comes up, and the screams transform into the sex moans. And it's like that. There's your Hellraiser, baby. Yeah, there you go. But I love there's that sex scene, and then she gets freaked out. The main character, Riley, gets freaked out because he says, "I love you." Cut to outside their room. They're leaving the bedroom. And then the title card comes up that says 6 years later. So they were having sex for a very long time, apparently. Exactly how I took it, too. Yeah, that's a weird choice, but I got a kick out of that. And then it turns out, all their roommates can hear. She is living with her brother, Matt, and his partner, Colin, and then their other roommate, Nora. Yeah. And there's a very awkward introducing her boyfriend, Buck buddy, whatever, around Trevor, around everybody. And we find out
a little bit later that they've met in a 12-step program.
Brother does not approve of any of this, and evidently she's having, she's can't get her life together. She's kind of like crashing with him because they become worried about the rent. They have a conversation about that, and he's doing her a solid, but he also feels like she's not kind of getting her shit together, essentially.
Right, that she is just using him, which is again like a theme that runs throughout this, the way that your sensational pursuits or pursuits of sensation can hurt those around you.
Yeah. We soon learn that Trevor, one of his kind of nondescript jobs, he has access to a warehouse where I guess just rich people store things, and he knows the code to get in, and he can gain access, and they quickly devise a weirdly basic plan to just go like break into a safe and steal whatever's in the safe. We don't know what it is, but of course we know what it is.
Yeah, because she needs some money quick, and call me old fashioned.
Yeah.
But I think a scumbag boyfriend that wants to do a warehouse heist is a higher echelon than like, let's just knock over a convenience store.
There you go.
Because like that shows ambition.
Yep.
Because not only is he perhaps on a career path to be a henchman of some kind, or sell the thing, just fence, not just some quick, easy money. It's a great chance to meet Batman.
Oh, there you go.
Robbing a warehouse like on the dock somewhere, that's a higher probability of someone going, it's the Bat, than when you just rob a convenience store. So that put Trevor in my good books.
Oh, yeah.
He's all right.
He is an upper echelon. Say so.
Yeah.
So they do manage to break into this safe. I'm not even going to ask, do safes actually work like that? But they bang open a safe with brute force and pull out a puzzle box. They spend the next little bit just kind of like getting drunk and playing with it, and just trying to open it, but they don't do so successfully.
Yeah, it's not until she goes home and has a big blow up with Matt, who can tell that she's been drinking, and is like, this Trevor guy's bad for you. You're falling off the wagon. She's been on there for a few months, and he's like, I'm done with this. You got to go.
You love having something to fix so that you can feel like a big success in this shitty apartment.
Okay, I see what you're trying to do.
No, you don't know a thing about what I'm trying to do. I'm not. You know what? That's okay. Neither do I.
Okay. You're drunk.
Yeah. Are you jealous? Are you scared?
Sleep it off. And in the morning, pack your shit.
Check out as she's leaving, Colin tries to stop her, and it's like, no, you guys you're always fighting. Don't leave. But she's pissed. She leaves. And she ends up getting so mad, she finds some pills and falls off the wagon further.
Yeah.
And takes them and is mucking around with the box. She has taken the box while Trevor's going to try to find someone to buy it, I guess. She's holding on to it and starts messing with it. And this is a moment that I first laughed at, but I actually really like. When she starts changing the box, that pops open, she's like,
shit. Did I break you?
Oh, did I break you? And then immediately continues to twist it and turn it and stuff like that. So it's like, oh shit. Well, I want this anyway, so too bad.
Totally.
But it is kind of funny that the lament configuration, it's been transforming, right? It's transformed in the first one to be a little bit different. In the second one, it becomes the Leviathan Diamond. I think in the third one, it really does. Maybe whatever. That it's like, that's not a new thing, but like they really turn it into a bop it in this one, where it's like everything is just like, turn it this way, bop it, twist it, stab the guy.
Right.
And she does, and a knife comes out, and we get another classic Hellraiser little detail put in. Pass out, wake up.
Yep.
We got to pass out, wake up. Yep. And I couldn't tell at first because I think it's really supposed to be the pills and the booze hitting.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes it seem like her messing with the box does it because like a wind starts to pick up, or just like the change in barometric pressure gave her the bends and she just passed out. But
totally.
Whatever. She falls. She passes out, and we see glimpses of the gasp and and I really like this bit. The priest is like, you open the box and is tracing the lament configuration, and it is showing up on Riley's chest.
Yes. Yeah.
And carving. And then when she finally like presses the button, like a hole appears in her chest, and chain starts shooting out at Matt, because they say, you got to do this. You got to open the box or find another.
Yeah.
So that idea of like, it's all about what you want. It's really, no, it's about what they want.
Right.
It's like, this is like an addiction for them, that they're like, I don't care. You give me something now. I need that hit of some sweet blood.
Sure. And Riley doesn't even know what the box offers, or if it does offer pleasures beyond what her brain can handle. So she's just kind of futzing around with it. You know, she has no intention.
Yeah, it's really a lot more a threat in this case. It's like, look, you see what we can do to you?
Yeah, that's
but
true.
like either you keep this going or else, you know, it's like it seems like obviously the larger threat is that we're going to get your brother, we're going to get Matt. But like, did that feel good when I carved a thing into your chest?
Right. Brother finds her in the park, passed out, and he actually cuts himself on the box. And he goes to the park bathroom to wash the blood off of his hand. Blood seeps into the box, and that's where we get our first, as we were speaking of before, the walls moving and breathing and opening up, and he is sucked away forever.
Yeah, the box transforms to its third change. All the box modes have different L names. The first one is lament. That is life. The second one is lore, which is knowledge. The third one is laudorant, which is love. And eventually we'll get to Leviathan, which is the final version. Yeah, these shaping or these shifting walls, I was so happy again when we've talked about it, but just like the grandeur of these realms meeting. And just that's something that they do throughout that I like a lot, is that this is a realm that's like just parallel to ours, that it's just right beneath the surface. And it really makes you feel that rather than just like Pinhead knocking on your door and showing up.
Yeah.
I really like that. It gives their whole thing so much more power and weight. And it's also just looks really cool.
It looks so
I just
good.
Liked it. Yeah. The effects are so great.
She goes back to Trevor's place and they have sex, and she sees Chatterer just hanging out watching them, and wakes up from that image.
No thanks.
Yeah. Riley and Trevor then go see Serena, the woman from the beginning, and she's at a medical home. They're asking about her involvement with the shipping container. So they've kind of tracked her based on, you know, who was in charge of this shipping container. And she's in this hospital. And that's where I remembered, oh, yeah, this is 6 years later. So after that initial bit. So I think she's also having trouble with her lungs. She's on like a breathing device of some sort.
Yeah, she says her lungs are rotting from the inside. Yeah.
So presents her with the puzzle box, and they struggle over it a little bit. And of course, it stabs Serena. They're like, well, we need to dispatch with her, of course. I love
this moment here where she is talking about, because she was the fixer, the go-getter for John Voit, for Roland Voit. Like when she's describing, like, yeah, he was this awful man. Riley makes a reference to having seen these things.
Yeah.
This is not the first configuration. Who touched it?
My brother.
And now he's gone, isn't he? So you've seen them. Roland used to see them too. People thought he was crazy. Angels, he called them. You'd think a devil would know a devil.
And I love that version of that line that they did, the Angels and Devils over there.
Yeah.
They managed to work that in there in a very cool way. And I think like they kind of build up Voit a lot.
Riley and Trevor leave. And so back at the hospital room, Serena, her oxygen tank falls over, and then a whole bunch more Cenobites just start kind of walking at her. And this is where, like before I knew it was called gasp, I just, I called it the walking lungs. Because they are I don't know if it's got to be obviously a parallel to what she's going through. They run around, chase around the hospital right as it's implied that the Cenobite is going to off her. She does have a great one-liner. That worked. That worked for me.
Well, and I like because the Weeper shows up and like has her, like is grabbing her head, and then the gas pulls a pin out of the Weeper's eyes, and it's got like this huge thing on the back of it. Like I don't know what it is. Are those all just like little points? Is that something inside the Weeper's head?
Yeah.
But that was great. Yeah, the fact that the asphyx kind of wanders in, and you get a great shot of like its disgusting spine and all that. It just kind of walks right by her, and it's just looking at another guy, and I'm just like, they're like, oh, what's this all about? Let's check this out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I had the same kind of thing. I was calling him Weezer and or Rivers Cuomo.
Yeah.
And then I found out that was actually Rivers Cuomo.
Oh, it was.
That he became a Cenobite. He sold his soul. I'm assuming that's what happened. I mean, how else do you explain anything past the Green album?
Yes. So Riley, I love it when people do this in horror movies, but Riley Googles Voit, and it just always kind of makes me laugh. He was a decadent occult collector type of character. She's starting to put together all these people that were around him and associated with him are disappearing, whether it be the sex worker, the groundskeeper, Serena herself.
Yeah, that was kind of a leap in that, where it's like, oh, this sex worker. Yeah, I doubt that was in the newspaper.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, they really kind of glanced at it. So he's disappeared. Whatever has happened with him meeting Leviathan at the end of the intro, like he's disappeared. He's presumed dead, missing whatever. But it's very weird that I don't know, to me, because he comes across as this billionaire who's living this luxury and is just surrounded by this decadence and whatever, that there'd probably be a few missing sex workers.
Yeah,
but it's just but I mean, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But it was just a little detail. But I did like, the Googling thing I was thinking about that. We've talked about losing the go look at some microfiche scene. And it's just like, it was a thing your character went to a place and did, and it was like, it took some initiative, and now it's like, it's a thing that we all just do at any time of day because information is so free flowing. And which would be funny if she like went down a huge conspiracy theory thing of like avoiding this. It's like, no, turns out is Q. It's the Q thing.
Yeah, he was Q. Exactly. Of course, that means that we have to go to his estate, because where else are you going to go? I do like the giant cage around the building when they first arrived there. It's so cool. I mean, and just his home, his estate looks like a giant cube, and that is obviously on purpose. Like it's kind of a puzzle box in itself.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very box heavy movie.
Yes.
Like when they go to get the safe, it's a safe within a warehouse, like a box within a box, and then within that box is a box. Yeah. With this, you have this very kind of lament configuration looking lattice work on the outside of the house. That's like this big cage. The house is in house jail, house arrest, I guess.
Yeah, there are all kinds of cages and doors on the inside of the house too, which you're like, well, that's going to come into play later on, of course.
Because like that's again that Riley, they really touch on Riley's addiction or addictive personality, because their switches, people are touching them. Throughout this movie, like I would do the same thing where it's like, oh, what's this? Yeah, she figures out she's kind of shutting stuff off, opening other stuff.
Totally.
And there's this very awkward moment though. I thought I found this kind of jarring where she opens the back door. There's keys into the back door, and she opens the back door, and then you see, it opens into this lovely vista, backyard kind of thing, and then goes to another room. It made it a point to be like, oh, look at this. Okay, now she's going into this. She's looking around the house. It seemed like that we were done with the house thing, and now she's like in the research lab.
Sure.
Which is very, again, speaking sort of thematically, is very Dr. Chenard. With Roland's, all his research. Yeah. And I would love to read that book that he wrote, that he has like all his notes or whatever. It was just very cool.
As opposed to Googling stuff, she's got a whole room full of old books to go through. And this is the kind of research that I approve of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you got all your L words here, from Lazarus to Leviathan. We didn't mention that one, because like the next level, I think, is like the Lazarus. So she's like, I can get my brother back if I solve it in this particular way.
Yeah, that gets floated to her that could perhaps happen. She's having dreams about her brother, being like, hey, like sees him. She's wandering around the house. She like sees him, and
Is it really you? Do you want it to be?
That's not what you want to hear.
Totally.
Like that, I already would be like, this isn't right.
And his back is all skinned off in a great kind of like almost Frank throwback. It looks great.
But she is dealing with that guilt of like this guy possibly dying because of her actions, which is again with the whole addiction thing.
Yeah.
Living and carrying that might drive someone to more addiction, or to, pursue those what they're addicted to. So she does another pass out wake up. And then, all the red shirts just showed up to join her.
Yes. Love that.
What the fuck is going on?
We talked to Trevor and came to find you.
How?
The door was open. We heard you screaming.
You need some help.
Now, this will all eventually, in a way, make sense, much like Hellworld. This is a much better version of Lance Henriksen's plan from Hellworld. You don't have to have a huge party. Just get all these idiots in one place and then do the thing to them. That's it.
Yeah.
But it does start to feel like in this big mansion with Hellraiser stuff. I was thinking a lot about Hellworld, and I'm like, oh, you made Hellworld, but good.
There's a secret door. Because, of course, one of those switches has to reveal a secret door.
Absolutely.
Trevor tries to help her out, but this one woman gets stuck behind there, and they're just pressing all the buttons, of course. She manages to walk around in this like kind of secret passageway and she gets stabbed by something, and we're not completely sure what it is at first.
There's all kinds of callbacks here that I love, though, because you have when Nora and Trevor are like in the back room, he drops what's your pleasure, but it's in reference to alcohol, and it's just thrown out there, and she's immediately like, nah, we don't drink around Riley.
Yeah.
So I like that, like it's there for me to go, but if you don't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That
whole scene, whoever is back there with her is like rushes down the hallway at her, and it's very much like the engineer in part one.
I was thinking same thing. Yeah.
But it's a guy, maybe? I don't know. But then we finally see as they open the door, you get a little glimpse, and it looks like it's Voit.
Yep. She does make it back to the trophy room where luckily all of her friends are like, fuck it, let's bail. So there's not a there's no hemming and hawing. They're just like, no, we have to get out of here now. Which,
this sucks.
This is what teenagers in horror movies don't typically do. They all pile in the van, and I really love this shot here in the back of the van.
Yeah, this might be my favorite bit.
Yeah, so the van just sort of, Nora's in the back, Riley's up front. And Nora is seeing into the cab, and the van just looks like it goes on forever in this visual, and it's wonderful. Like, I love this kind of uncanny stuff. Yeah,
it just elongates, and even though like the road behind them starts like shifting, and that she is like, they're still, as far as they know, on the road, but to Nora is now moving between worlds, and it's shifting around her until she's eventually within whatever that the labyrinth, Leviathan's labyrinth, gets chained up, the classic style, and is like being held up in the air, and she starts saying the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene with her, and this is what I was like, all right, Pinhead, you're Jamie Clayton, you're all right.
What is it you pray for?
Salvation.
And what it feel like? A joyful note. Without change, without end, heaven. There's no music in that.
I like the struggle. I like the transformation, the change, the like, hey, remember how you used to have a voice? Now you don't. Whoop, and puts a pin in there. But at the same time, I mean, it's a certain amount of like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, when you hurt, you hurt. Sometimes it's like, oh, I skinned my elbow. Yeah, but have you skinned your left elbow? Yeah. Like that's where that's really cool.
Have you had a cheese grater scraped across it?
But yeah, but I like that scene in the way that Clayton handles herself in that bit, because it is this very like, oh, you peasant, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Cenobites in this one, they're a little bit less like, they seem sure of like, no, doing this stuff is awesome. It seems way more like they like doing it to other people than having it done to them.
Of course. You do get a little bit of inside the throat photography with the pin going through, which is fun. And then Chatterer just comes up and tears her head off. Like pulls it from behind. But it is kind of funny because Pinhead says just before that happens, you'll feel so much before we're through with you. But then 2 seconds later, they're through with her because I'm assuming that she dies from this.
Yeah. She disappears, from our realm, but it seems like, she's totally dead there.
Yeah. Riley tries to throw the puzzle box over a bridge, but Pinhead shows up just in time to just go, no. Do you want to see that brother again? Huh?
Yeah.
Just like, it is just funny how Pinhead just has to constantly be kind of cajoling you. Just like, don't do that. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, so that's the thing. It's like, instead of being like, oh, the pleasures, the sensations you will feel, this is a lot more conniving. The Cenobites are a lot more like, look, hey, you signed this paperwork by doing the bop it.
Yeah.
You owe us this stuff now. And either you give yourself up. And I think there at one point she's even like, we have your blood now. So we got you.
Yeah.
And it's either you get us more people or we're going to mess you up, which seems like if what you're offering is so great,
right.
Come on, this product should sell itself. Let's go.
Yeah.
Grind set 101.
Right.
But it is, it's a lot more menacing. And so it's less of Riley's pursuit of like, this sensation is cool. This is what I'm after, as more as just like, well, I'm trying to do the little amount of damage as possible, but what I'm doing is hurting everyone around me.
Yeah.
And I can't seem to get around that.
Right. I can't just get rid of this stupid box.
Right. But like I might be able to get my brother back, so it might be worth it.
The ground keeps opening up below the van just a tad too slowly. And so the van can stay ahead of the ground, but they end up going back to the house. There is a pretty neat shot of all the Cenobites just sort of like coming out of wherever, starting to surround the house. Chatterer just ends up chomping on one of the guy's arms. And I'm like, oh, finally. Like, we get to see Chatterer actually use those teeth.
Yeah, been movie after movie where he's clacking away and he finally gets some action.
But she ends up stabbing Chatterer with the knife that's within the puzzle box, which is, I guess it's a first. Instead of just using the electricity to like suck them away, it's the first time we've seen them like physically assault a Cenobite with the box. And I guess it messes them up so bad that Pinhead is just like, well, you're down, so I'm going to call the chains and tear you apart.
Yeah, because the Chatterer just kind of like, well, all right, and just backs off.
That's it.
Like, what happens then? Like, unlike in some movies past, it's unclear. You don't automatically just become a Cenobite because they got you. Like, say in Part 3 or some of the other ones.
Right.
You know, they've been tearing people up left and right, but it's not like we're seeing them show up. But when you're already a Chatterer, like, do you become a twice baked Cenobite or like
you're just winked out?
Are you just gone? Yeah. Are you normal again? You know, I'd like at the end of Judgment.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, guess what? Now you're just a homeless guy.
Right.
All right.
But yeah, we've never seen, other than Chenard at the end of Part 2 in his egregious killing of all the Cenobites so easily, we've not seen Cenobite on Cenobite violence before.
And this just seemed like on either side, like no emotions about it. All right, yeah, no, you got stabbed. This is what we got to do now.
Yeah.
The proper procedure.
Right. They locked the gate and I can't help but just feel like the Cenobites are enjoying just sort of like hovering outside of the place because I don't believe that these beings of extra dimensional pain and pleasure, like above our understanding, are stopped by a gate necessarily. And if they are, like, I'm just going to have to get over that. But Yeah.
It's a little convenient, but it seems like there's more to it than it's just a gate. You know what I mean? Like it seems like Voit has put some of his alchemical occult studies at work and done some of this. But it's they don't really underline it. You know what I mean? Like so you can be absolutely forgiven for being like, it's just a gate. Like what? Can't you just shift something and move it? You know?
Okay.
It does feel a little bit like
and the thing is I bet I would have thought it was a little too direct and corny if we would have seen Voit just like casting spells over his gate, for sure. So, okay, I can go with that. Speaking of Voit, he is here and he's got some sort of giant geared contraption sewn into his chest. And it turns out that Trevor has been working with Voit all along. And I do love that Trevor does not seem at all freaked out by the look of the gears, but I guess they may have been in touch recently since the gears have been put in there. Yeah.
If you are willing to lure someone into a house and all their friends into a house to get murdered, I imagine you're kind of, there's a certain level of sang-froid you have. That you're like, yeah, no, I've seen that. That's fine. I know what your whole thing is. But I do like that revealed, not only just because the nominative determinism of being named Trevor and being a traitor.
Yep.
But at the beginning, I was so annoyed that he lived in this giant loft.
Oh, yeah.
And like, he's just like a delivery guy. And it just felt like one of those like, movie or TV things where it's like, no one has any idea how expensive it would be to live there, but it looks cool. And like, we want to put out this vibe. But then when you're like, oh no, because he's been getting money from this billionaire. And then it makes just his interactions with Riley on subsequent watchings a lot more interesting. And I think Drew Starkey does a good job with that. Like even at the beginning when he's like, I love you, that seems a little bit more like, a manipulative tactic than a way he actually feels.
Sure.
Did he make her bust open the box because he couldn't do it? Or was that part of a pursuit to like, you're working for it, so you want it more. You put forth the effort. So it's like to try to entice it and sweeten up.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, you kind of step back and go, you could just get an unending line of himbo sex workers to come in here.
Of course.
Or just, whoever, you've got the money and the means. It seems like human life does not mean much to you. Why all this?
Yeah, just sacrifice after sacrifice of people. Yeah.
So I wasn't really clear on that, other than that would be boring. This is more interesting.
Sure.
The same reason that Pinhead doesn't have a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it would be boring.
Yeah. They decide that they need to let one of the Cenobites inside. And the plan is that they're going to let it inside one of the gates and then stab it with the puzzle box. And I was just like, well, I guess that makes sense. And I like how cavalier that is. It just for Riley to just be like, no, we got to let one of these demons inside. I'm just going to smash it. It'll be fine.
This gets them what they want. And then I don't have to hurt anyone. I can hurt, like, who cares about this thing? It was going to kill us. It's self-defense.
Totally. They open the gate and lures a couple of them back in through, and Gasp is the lucky winner.
That's Asphyx, which is
okay.
It's confusing to have two lung focused names.
Yes. Okay.
Because gasps too. It's just like, because at first I thought they were just making fun of the lady with the rotten lungs.
Me too.
That they're like, this is what you sound like, idiot. Get used to this. But no, this is Pinhead's crew is a lot of lung focused people. A lot of nerds that needed their inhalers.
Right. But the thing about Asphyx is he runs. Never seen a Cenobite run before.
All these Cenobites are very like, they have a lot more tools or gear on them.
Yeah.
Like wires and like pieces of what look like the element configuration jammed in the back of their head. I think like the either Gasper or I'm sorry, Asphyx or Gasper, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
That something like clicks on that. And then it just like, you're free to go. And it just starts charging at him, which was, you're not used to that. They've been just coming at you slowly this whole time, this inevitability, but to have it shift into high gear was an unexpected surprise. Got me pretty good.
Yeah. Traps him right there in the gate. Voit comes out of nowhere and stabs Colin. And of course reveals that Trevor tricked her and was paid to do it the entire time. So she gets that big reveal there. A bit of a flashback here where he describes the gears. And this is pretty imaginative. I'll give him this because when I first saw this, I was like, what is this? Some dumb steampunk stuff? Like, he's got to have a cool top hat and some glasses now or some shit. It actually, like, it's a gear thing that pulls on the nerves inside of his skin to make him feel new sensations of pain constantly. I was like, I like how mechanical and gross that is. It's almost like on a timer or something. Yeah,
because it will stop occasionally and start like he has no control over that. It will just do it when it does it.
Yeah.
And so like that to me, it sort of undercuts you just want this one ecstatic note forever. The guy is just feeling the same nerve pain. It's not like, we'll move it over to your leg today or something like that. Like it's just going to hurt and be awful for a long time, but he chose it. So, whatever. I don't know how they made that decision, but I like that it's this cool thing sticking out of him. And then when he finally reveals himself to the cadre of young people that he's got a suit on over it.
Yes, I love that.
When we first see him, he's like shirtless and has happening, but he's bothered to get dressed around it, which has to hurt because it seems like you just touch a part of it. And,
To me, it's almost like Pinhead's just thinking like, you will feel pain when I can't be around to make you feel pain. So I'm going to give you this little box, this little contraption that will just pull on your nerves all the time.
And he operates both kind of as Chenard and Frank because he's trying to escape them. Like he's contacted them. He's been researching them, contacting them, and he has been given their gift. But unlike Chenard is like, this sucks. More like Frank is like, this blows. I want out of this.
Right.
But being unable to escape the way that they did in the first couple, whatever, that he just needs people's blood to get Leviathan open again.
Yeah.
So he can tell Leviathan like, hey, RE this thing in my chest. When can we get rid of this?
Yeah. which he's close to doing. So he lets Colin leave. Blood drips up to the ceiling. Always
I love
a fan
that
of
effect.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just always works.
It's cool.
Leviathan, the big diamond, starts to descend. So that was a fun callback to my beloved part 2. This is when, like we're going to jam 2 more Cenobites in here. We got Mask, the face guy.
Who's like basically like, his head is gone, but his face is stretched out over like 2 things between. Which, speaking of stretched skin, I like the little cameo from the Pillar of Souls.
Oh yes,
when they're killing the Lung Woman.
Yeah,
you just see it in the background. It's got some skin flaps on it now. It's like, nice upgrade.
Yeah.
Like it's this very cool effect, but it made me think of that Will Vinton stop motion animation movie about Mark Twain, about the Mark Twain stories and the Satan guy.
Yes,
which is a cool bit. But again, I'm just like, he just seems so much like less human at that point. Like they went a little bit too far, but it looks cool. And so,
looks great. And blink and you miss her, but there's a mother Cenobite. And I don't know what her whole deal is, but it's a very pregnant woman who seems to be like keeping something inside of her. And that was kind of neat.
I think the pain that was supposed to represent is the idea of sitting in a makeup chair for hours on end to have your part cut from a movie. Because I mean, these people are all troopers because these are very tight fitting costumes. They seem very restrictive in a lot of ways. I think the guy who was the chatter, Jason Lyles, had said, he's like, I can't pee in this thing. So basically when this was going to happen, I would just not drink water. There's going to be too much of a hassle to do all this.
That's my personal pain right there.
Yeah.
I can't go pee.
Cast someone else to be the chatter. I gotta whiz always. But being outside at night, that's the gasp, her bare legs out there, that's gotta be cold. So absolute troopers going through all that.
Totally. Yeah.
And then, it's unfortunate there's not more with the mother.
Plant something in your imagination. I want to think on that. That's a fun, especially considering how much screen time of all the Cenobites that we get. And it is kind of neat that there's one that, my imagination can kind of run a little bit more wild with. Turns out Voit built all these gates as a cage to trap Pinhead and the other Cenobites. But, Riley grabs the box, opens the cage, lets Pinhead just kind of waltz right on in. And she says,
there is no retreat once a threshold has been crossed. All you can do is search for greater thresholds.
So we get some more good kind of Cenobite dialogue here.
Yeah, there's no going back. That once you've crossed the threshold, that won't feel the same now. So you got to go to the next thing. Which again, that addiction, I got to. This isn't doing it for me anymore. I gotta do this. Which is also it's always been the pursuit of the box. Is that the want of greater and greater pleasures. Yeah. But I like the idea though of because when we see the billionaire, when we see Voit at the beginning, he even says I've done it all. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I want something else. And he's there's, as you mentioned, an orgy happening at his party, but it's all still very vanilla. And you think about and they mention it in Judgment, how that we have hot and cold running sin with the internet now that it's so easy. And I understand that's not as sexy, but it'd be so funny to have that be a bigger theme in this. It's Pinhead just listening to people and okay, which minion do you want to eat you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Fine.
Yeah.
Or just some guy in bad Sonic cosplay, just wandering around the orgy.
Totally.
That would be awesome.
Yes. Yeah. The little machine falls out of Voit and his skin grows back. So we get a little bit of I took it as a callback of Frank getting reconstructed in the first one.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be that's it. Fine, we just will open and close this as we deem fit.
Totally,
because it's a great effect as the hole in him just starts filling back in.
Yeah, they must have meant this to be kind of funny because as soon as that happens, a gigantic chain falls out of the ceiling and just impales him, and it played like a sight gag to me.
Oh, absolutely,
and it worked. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and he gets hoisted up like Leviathan just won a claw game.
Yeah, right.
Just slowly rising.
We get, Jamie's opportunity to say,
you will know our finest gift. Oh, yes. We have such sights to show you.
Matt then appears to Riley and she wants nothing from Pinhead because Pinhead says, here you go. do you choose this? And she's just like, this just doesn't seem right, which is,
I've seen what you've done. Like, this isn't going to work. So your idea that the Lazarus configuration, I could choose Lazarus and bring him back, that would not go well.
Totally.
Because usually, I mean, it's almost always, I mean, think of Pet Cemetery, which I was like, yeah, but this time I got it. Yeah.
I will be the one that this works for.
Right. That she smartly goes, no, I can live with this grief. I will have to learn to live with this grief.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pinhead pulls some fucking rush on him. And it's like, well, you still have made a choice. By not choosing, you've made a choice.
Yep.
Then you have chosen
A life of regret. Knowing everything you've done. Everyone you've hurt and lost.
your suffering has barely begun.
You choose to live. To carry that weight. Bitter and brief.
Because you went through all this for your, like, this little blip of whatever. So of sufferings, that's all we care about. And it'll be over. So way to go, idiot. Where it's really, that's the best one.
Right.
Well, I don't know the best one, but it's, you know, it's the safest.
I don't know if this landed as heavy as they wanted it to, because it sort of, I don't want to say it came out of the blue for me, but it feels like backwards engineered, I guess, where they're just like, ooh, the lament configuration. How can we work that in?
Right.
It didn't feel quite natural enough to me, but I still like the concept of it being like emotional pain instead of physical pain, which is not something that we've ever gotten into in one of these movies.
Yeah, that well, without it being like you should feel guilt for being a piece of shit.
Yes.
Whereas she won that right to feel guilty for everything she does, and you can see it on her face. On Odessa Azion plays it real well, where it's like, yeah, I won, I guess. Where it's just like, all right, well, this is over, but like now I have to live with everything that I've done, and like it doesn't necessarily seem like she's in a great place, even though she survived all this and she won, which I always kind of like. You know, I like the Sally at the end of the Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, that this may have roughed up, but when we get the what happens next, really kind of undercuts it, because they go, all right, Roland Voit, played by Goran Viznik, who's I really like, just is big enough and is menacing enough. Really like him in this.
Yeah.
Like we figure, okay, I see your whole thing. You initially chose liminal, which is sensation.
Yeah.
That's not what you wanted. Your whole life has been about power. So let's do Leviathan. Let's do the big one. So he wakes up and he's in Cenobite heaven, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's Leviathan heaven. It's white. It's whatever. He himself is like shaved and pale and ashen, laying on something. Then kind of like with Chenard, stuff starts happening to him. And I really like the effects here. It seems a little bit more like practical.
Of course.
But it's like his face starts getting ripped off. All the stuff happens. So he like basically becomes like a full on Cenobite. And the camera pulls back and he's on this cross and he's all messed up, but he won and he got power.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, this is all bad unless you choose the right one, which is power, which is always correct. Like forget love and any other stuff. You just choose power. Always choose power.
Yeah. You had to solve the configuration in order, I suppose. So this is like, you know, Leviathan is the final boss. Like you get to have an audience with him and ask for, well, I guess I get power. And the way I get power is I get turned into a Cenobite. Right.
But it's like it's not like he hasn't lost anything, because he's already in his pursuit of all this dehumanized himself entirely. He's willing to treat other people as just fodder for his goals.
Yeah.
And so at the end to be like, yeah, but he's a monster. He's fine with that.
Yeah.
Like this is what he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because they're like, no takesy backsies, only exchanges. And he's like, well, then give me power. And they're like, yeah, that's the right answer.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that it ends with him winning. And that the person that the heroine, the final girl, whatever, is like, yeah, I did the right thing, but this sucks.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like the morally correct thing to do.
Yeah.
I suppose. But then the bad guy's like, woo, number one, this rules.
She got the pain and he got the pleasure.
Yeah.
He ascends. So I do like how we see, I'm a sucker for the stop motion of Chenard at the end in Hellbound, of course.
Yeah. Or Pinhead at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. But this was neat too, and I do like how it was more like angelic looking instead of dark, and like that's fun too because we finally got a little bit of the motif of angels to some,
right.
But I like this sort of like I don't know cosmic angelic, but then violent. That kind of stuff always works for me.
Well, and it's obviously an easy setup for a sequel too.
Yeah.
Now he's back and he's a full on Cenobite this time, but. Without, it's just that he won. And I think that kind of rule. I mean, it's a horrible when you compare the two sides to each other, just as I said, where she ends up and where he ends up. And you look at all the moralizing that this series has done up to this, that this one went, no.
Yeah.
He got what he wanted.
Yes.
It's like to you, it might suck, but he's got all this power now.
Yeah. I mean, it shows him kind of like grimacing in pain, but I don't remember if he actually like smiles or anything cheesy like that, but it is what he wants. He's showing like ecstasy.
Yeah. I did hear that he did have, that there wasn't going to be some kind of line like Chenard's like I don't know why I resisted for so long.
Oh, right.
But that there was some line like that, but got cut, which I think is a better move because it does keep it, even though like the angelic, the more sort of like heavenly angelic feel of it, gives it more of a victorious vibe than something evil is happening to him.
Yeah.
Having him kind of all the stuff happening to him not reacting that way makes it a little bit more ambivalent, which is cool. Because if he was just like, if he indeed like had a giant foam finger at the end that was like, pain number one, it would be a little less exciting.
Sure.
Keeping it where it's like, oh, well, what's the cost? There's none. He loves it, but
it's fine. Yeah.
You don't specifically tell me that.
Right,
Let me just imagine that that's what's happening.
Yeah. And that's where we end it. He wins. Evil wins. Or Cenobites win. And
evil wins tonight.
Yeah, right. And our heroine goes off and laments for the rest of her life. So, let's go ahead and honor our few dead. Not a huge body count in this, but like 5 or 6 or so. Joey, played by Kit Clark, ripped apart by chains. Matt McKendry, played by Brandon Flynn, killed off-screen by Pinhead. Serena Miniker, played by Chaim Abbas, killed off-screen by Cenobites. Nora, played by Aofi Hines, strung up by chains, impaled, head torn off by Chatterer. Chatterer, played by Jason Lyles, torn apart by Pinhead chains. Trevor, played by Drew Starkey, ripped apart with razor wires. Roland Voit, played by Goran Visage, impaled by giant chain, flayed alive, revived as Cenobite. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's quite different in a lot of ways, but it's still. I miss the griminess of the first one, but that's just never kind of come back, and that's what I have to get over. It's a little polished in some weird ways, but I feel like I'm complaining about something that I just got that I really wanted, and now I'm just like, well, it's still not right, which is stupid, So like, I just need to accept the fact that like you cannot recreate the magic of the first one. I don't necessarily think that they were trying to in a lot of ways. But what they gave me was still pretty darn good. Aside from a few like kind of motivational things about the box in itself, which again, and we'll talk more about this last week, there are no like hard and fast rules to this at this point, and I think they jettisoned most of those after the first 1 or 2 movies. So yeah, I still overall did like this one. Yeah, I liked it a lot more this time around than when I first saw it, as I mentioned. But I think there's a lot of stuff here that I didn't pick up on as much in the first one. I think, aesthetically, it's not my bag. It has a little bit more of the kind of cinematic sludge, the way that things look now. Everything's like way too dark and this is a dark movie too.
Yeah, but it still was pretty enough, and like you just kind of accept that it's doing its own thing because after a bunch of these later ones, you kind of realize it's never going to be what it was. Like it can't. Yeah. And so when it's anything that's just not those, you're like, hell yes, this is great.
It's a long movie too.
It's long. It starts long. It lags a bit in places. Like at one point I was like, oh my God, there's still a half hour left. I was very surprised by that. I thought it was like we were in the final like 15 minutes or, 10 minutes of it.
Yeah.
The side characters, I would have liked, some more with them. Overall solid. Definitely put it up in the top half of my favorites for this.
They brought back some of the old themes too, the music as well.
That's something I wanted to talk about because it's not Christopher Young, but like they definitely try to bring in that more operatic score, which really helps it. I mean, like that to me is so much of this movie, that kind of grandiose thing. It sets the tone for it so well.
Yeah.
And it was very nice to see a riff on that, even though I don't think the original theme is in there. I think it's like a version of it because still he probably wanted too much money, which is fine. Yeah. Good for you.
But one thing that they did add to this was the bells in the soundtrack were now bells that the characters heard, like the big giant chimes. And I love that. I was like, ooh, this isn't just on the soundtrack here. These are Hell's bells opening up and that all these characters can hear. And that adds to that majesty for me. So I really dug that little extra tidbit. With
all the little touches that make me think of the other movies in a positive way. Like it's not just a pastiche of these things. They just took elements and themes and transformed them into something else. But if you are familiar enough with these, watch enough, you can spot them. And I think that to me is how I would like my fan service. Right. Like that. Hey, here's the thing we loved. Here's something cool we did with it, rather than just giving it to you again and
again. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's going to do it. Gosh, that's going to do it for Hellraiser. We'll have our wrap up episode because I feel like there's a lot to talk about in a wrap up with this series. God, we started in January. It's May.
Yeah.
Almost
so much Hellraiser
time. Yeah. So much Clive Barker. We'll be talking about some other Barker-ist stuff in there. Like I read the Scarlet Gospels and some other Clive Barker specific Hellraiser type of stuff that I'd always been curious about too. So we'll talk about some of that next week as well. But until then, you can find us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod, Hurt a Bit Pod on YouTube, and you can email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. Reach out before the wrap-up episode. Ask us any questions about Hellraiser that we might be able to address on the air if you've been listening along with us. What was your favorites? Which was your least favorites? It'd be kind of fun to see if there's a general consensus over, does everybody hate Hellseeker? Like that kind of thing.
I've heard some surprising takes on Deader and Hellworld.
Yeah.
But it's rough. Like it's nice that it's in this context because I'm worried that people are going to listen to this at some point in the future. And it's like when the story about Harry Houdini dying because he was like, I can always take a punch to the stomach, and someone punched him to the stomach. Someone just randomly is going to say like Hellworld's pretty good, and I'm going to die. It's going to kill me because I'm not ready for it.
Yeah. Well, if anybody writes in and says that Hellworld is their favorite, I'll just delete that message.
Actually, it would be the one that would kill me would be Revelations. If you're like, that would actually kicks ass.
Yeah, sure.
Even Gary Tunnicliffe is like, I don't know, guys.
All right, everyone. Well, yeah, reach out. Let us know what you thought of this big old journey, and we'll talk about it next week. And then on next week's episode, we'll talk about what we're getting into next, which is always exciting. So,
yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening along, and we'll talk to you next week. Good night.
Good night.
This has been a Caretaker Press production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at thismayhurtabitpod and email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review over on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.